Hey, shalom, 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 lakam, which is peace unto you all. Hi, Rab Tawab La Atham, Za Achikam Yawaman Chagado Charlotte, which is good evening. This is your brother Yawam from the JMS camp in Charlotte. Nachamatam Kaya Hamalakath Hashemayim Kwa Rab. Repent gate 4. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Halayim La La Abanawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachakodash Wa Mashanala Zakonim Nawa Wa Malakim Shara Chagado, which is all praises to our Father Yahweh, which means he exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, delivers and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Zayah Shaya, this is Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 1. And it says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. All right, and this word for burden goes into the Hebrew word mash'ah. All right, and it says, an oracle, an utterance. It says, figuratively, an utterance, chiefly a doom. It says a prophecy. All right, so when we go into that word for burden, all right, it goes into a prophecy, it goes into a doom, all right, and it goes into an utterance, because essentially, the Lord is against America, Babylon the Great, all right, for all the atrocities and, the double rebellion that has been, wrought throughout, essentially, this place, all right, and being that America, Babylon the Great is like the capital of wickedness, essentially it's been that beacon of light and left-hand wickedness, all right, so essentially this place has to be rewarded, according to her ways, Scriptures know this place as Maratayam, all right, for double rebellion. All right, and that same word is synonymous with double bitterness, so for the detestable acts and the abominable acts done in this place, essentially, America's going to be rewarded double. All right, so, and let's go to that real fast. This is Jeremiah chapter 50, and we'll get verse 31. And it says, give me a second. This is Jeremiah 15, verse 21. It says, go up against the land of Maratayam, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pakwawad, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith the Lord, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. All right, and this is the word for Maratayam. All right, and it says double rebellion. It says another name for Babylon, double bitterness, because of that double rebellion, all right, America is going to receive of that double bitterness. All right. All right, and that's essentially, what represents a part of that burden, all right, a part of that doom, or part of the prophecy against this place. So it says the burden of Babylon, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. All right, I'm going to get a quick precept. This is Psalms chapter 60 and verse 4, and it says, thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. All right, let's read this in the NLT. And it says, but you have raised a banner for those who fear you, a rallying point in the face of attack. All right. All right. So it says, reading it again in the KJV, Psalm 60 and verse 4, thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee. All right. In which that banner, all right, is the Hebrew word nas. All right. Which goes into a banner. And it also goes into a standard, something that's lifted up, so in warfare, seeing that, your side had a flag risen up, that gave forth for hope, so the Lord ultimately has lifted up the scriptures. All right. And that is ultimately a refuge for the elect. All right. In this spiritual warfare. So it says, thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee. All right. So a sign of hope. It says that it may be displayed because of the truth. All right. So ultimately, again, that banner goes back to the scriptures. Isaiah 13 and verse 2, it says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, in which that high mountain is talking about America. All right, in the scriptures, mountains, represent, at times, mountains represent governments. So it says, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. All right, and this word has reached the gates of the nobles. All right, this is Amos, I am watch chapter 5, and we'll get verse 10, that says, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. All right, and this ultimately represents the prophets. All right, those that, rebuke, indicate, all right, and those that ultimately speak up, right, will represent the prophets, all right, from our apostles and elders on down. All right, and that's essentially why, Esau's coming with that heavy censorship, taking down different information articles and things of that nature, you see, because ultimately he doesn't want his pretty much what he has going on. He doesn't want it to be, cross-examined. All right, and being that the prophets are ultimately on the highways and byways, essentially he's being cross-examined. He's being exposed. All right. So going back to Isaiah 13 and verse 2, and it says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. All right, in which the sanctified ones is talking about the prophets. This is excuse me. This is Luke chapter 1. We'll get verse 70. And it says, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, because that's always how the Lord spoke. He would send a messenger, which will be the prophets. All right, Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5, it says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations, because ultimately, the prophets are sent to, Jake. All right, but then also on the flip hand side, the prophets are ultimately sent to the nations to, tell them of their impending doom and judgment. All right, hence, that word for burden, you see, because ultimately you wear a burden. All right, essentially us bringing out this message ultimately represents a burden. All right, what this place has to look forward to. All right, and that's not what they want to hear. That's why it goes into the Hebrew word mash'ah, which is a burden. Something that it's a tab. It's Ecclesiastes, the 8th chapter. All right, it says back to verse 3, it says, I have commanded my sanctified ones, all right, the prophets. I have also called my mighty ones from mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. All right, and let's get a quick precept. This is Psalms 104. We'll get verse 4. Verse 3, it says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. All right. And ultimately, those that rejoice in the Lord's highness will be the angels. All right. In which, they traverse and move about in the chariots. All right. In this world, all right, the chariots are so-called UFOs, so-called UAPs. All right. But the legit literal term for the vehicles of the angels, all right, is the chariots of the Lord. So finishing out verse 4 says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. All right. And it's ultimately, this represents the Lord ultimately gathering all the nations, for WW3. All right. Because, contrary to their belief, they can say they got peace here, peace there, setting up this treaty, this diplomacy, that diplomacy, you see. But everything is going funneled into WW3 because that's the Lord's will. This is Proverbs 21 and verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will, and it's the will of the Lord, to essentially judge America, Babylon the Great, all right, and get the nations essentially gathered together, all right, for this third world's woe, all right. So going back, reading verse 5, and then let me get another precept, now to be it. But this is Isaiah 13 and 5. It says, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. All right, and what's gonna do this? All right, let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 16, and we'll get verse 13. And it says, for strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. All right, so, thinking about, the scriptures spiritually, all right, or spiritually, all right, and then also, applying scriptures like Hosea 12 and 10, or how the Lord speaks in similitudes. All right, so when the scriptures was being written, all right, the prophets essentially, painted a picture, all right, gave the picture of the prophecies, all right, with common day examples, all right, and arrows in the ancient world compared to present day, all right, those would be the ICBM nuclear missiles, all right, and that those ultimately represent, the weapons of the Lord's indignation, All right, and then the arrows that we got, Second Ezra, the 16th chapter and the 13th verse. So just want to go into Isaiah 13, verses 1 through 5. Adawan Tazaza Banayapa. Lord's will, that was a beautiful edification to the spirit. Adawan Tazaza, Dami Eshlela Tawab. Lord's will, you'll have a good night. Wa shalom lakam, which is peace to you all. Shalom, shalom.